Welcome back to the Bryan Devore Connection. I'm your host, Bryan Devore. One of the biggest risks that seniors face is fall risk. The number one cause of deaths, unfortunately for seniors, is falling. It's a big issue and we need to address it. Well, there's a couple people here today to talk about the product they created to help not only fall prevention, but predictive analysis as well. So here to talk about their product, Mercury Alert, is Brandon and G. How are you guys doing today?
Great. It's good to be here.
Yeah, this is exciting.
Good. Thanks for coming. So, G, you and I met a few months ago through another organization that we work with together, and I became fascinated with your product because it's nothing you have to wear, it's nothing you have to rely on for seniors to put on the wrists and so forth, and it's super high tech. So, Brandon, let's talk to kind of high level. What is Mercury Alert?
So we monitor older adults for different emergencies and just situations like falls. It's completely passive, and we can detect everything from when someone sits up so that we can dispatch a caregiver, let's say in a nursing home, to if they leave the room, if they return to bed safely, if they fall on the ground and need help, or if they don't return to bed in a normal period of time. And so we're targeting really specific emergency scenarios, and then also just where caregivers can intervene.
So, I mean, there's a lot to unpack there, so we'll get there in just a minute. G, how did Mercury Alert start?
So I used to be a caregiver for my grandmother who had really severe dementia. She moved from Korea to live with us for a while, but our family was really busy. I was in school, and there's really no way to care for her and monitor her, especially when we're out of the house, especially during the nighttime, because we were always afraid of her hurting herself or falling at some points of the day that we wouldn't be able to be there. The only alternatives out there were literal physical caregiving, which is way out of our price budget at that time, and then the little pendant buttons like Life Alert, which she really just didn't know how to use and wouldn't really wear anyway. So Brandon and I, we actually met in high school, and we competed in this competition called the Microsoft Imagine Cup, and where Brandon built this prototype of it using the Xbox Kinect sensor. And at that point, it only detected falls, but we made it all the way to the finals in Silicon Valley, won the national title.
Wow.
And then Brandon actually worked at Microsoft for a while as a data applied scientist. And then, a few years ago, we got back together and thought, this problem still hasn't been solved, so we're the right people to do it.
That's awesome. That's great. So, I mean, lots of technology and lots of care go into this product because of your background of really wanting to find a solution for this type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, talk a little bit more about the product and kind of what it does and how it can help families.
So it's, again, monitoring for very specific actions. So right now, the only kind of technology are these buttons that you can press and motion sensors. But we need to be able to determine very specific things again. And so we detect specifically, when someone sits up, stands, leaves the room, falls on the ground, returns to bed. We send a daily update text message of what happened in the previous night. So a primary use case is nighttime monitoring. And right now, the only alternative to that is having a physical caregiver there. And so we are monitoring passively what's happening and then updating families the next day. This is their safety score. This is the number of times they left the bed. And then under the hood, we're doing deep learning AI to train the model as to what people are doing in the room. We're actually the first people to do this in homes. And it turns out it's a very hard problem to differentiate between a dog running around on the ground and an older adult, and pets are very prone to triggering the tech. So we've solved that problem, and we think it's very useful to families. We've saved so many people time on ground. It's very very sad to see older adults on the ground for periods of time without anyone knowing. And so we've saved that and given families their lives back to once they have the peace of mind that their loved one is safe.
Yeah. So, and this is, by the way, this is the Mercury Alert product right here. It's amazing to think all the technology that's in here, and like we said before, most of it's in the cloud, most of the information is in the cloud. But so this just attaches to the wall, right?
Through with a command strip, so it doesn't hurt people's paint.
Very nice. We like that, especially in the real estate world. It's always nice to have that. but it's not reliant on the senior to put it on, remember to wear it, remember to push a button and so forth. It's very non-invasive.
Right.
Because I know a lot of times they don't want to be monitored.
Right.
And then all the information gets back to the command center, so to speak. And I love the role of AI is amazing. You talk about predictive analysis. The example I give when I tell people about you guys is normally it takes mom 30 seconds to sit up and put her feet on the ground. Today it took 60 seconds. What's going on? What's the reason behind this? And it does so much more than that to really be able to predict there could be a problem, not just it happened, but there could be a problem down the line.
Right, yeah, so that's a really critical feature too, is once we have all the base detections and we're really accurate with when we can tell when someone sits up or when they stand, there's all these higher level analytics that we do, like how much time they're spending in bed, how much time they're out of bed at night, and then we can track that over time and families can use that to monitor, does mom need help the next day, or is she regressing overall in terms of just safety and wellness. So this is, they're called activities of daily living.
Yeah.
And we're tracking a lot of that has not been tracked before too.
Well, it's also good too, and G, you talked about some pilot programs you have with home care companies, where it's not just for an individual's home, but a home care company can use it for all their clients, or in a senior living community. That kind of a facility where you can have multiple monitors, and it cuts down the number of people who have to be monitoring on an hourly basis or couple hour basis and so forth.
Yeah, exactly. And with the home care agencies, they're able to serve families that really can't afford nighttime caregiving, especially families previously who would have just been left to kind of deal with their own problems, but now they can still have the backing of like a caregiver and some type of monitoring so that they can just care for their loved ones without breaking the bank. And also one thing to mention is we work with Dr. Allison Moore at UCSD, who's the chief of geriatric medicine, and she helps us really understand what the analytics should do and what kind of data that geriatricians need to be able to really help care teams and families understand the progressions and regressions of their loved one's health.
That's amazing. Yeah, she's a fantastic lady, and the work they're doing
know
there
her.
is great. Yeah, for sure. Talk about the broader vision. When we talked a few days ago, the broader vision of what we're trying to accomplish here with this program.
I think passive monitoring is really important for the future. And so there's not a lot of great options for older adults. Just buttons in general are very invasive. And the only alternative to that is caregiving, which is invasive and not particularly affordable. And so we want to be an in-between option between those with passively monitoring older adult safety. And so, that's our vision, is to expand in terms of what things we can detect passively as well. So we want to not just detect emergency scenarios, but just overall indicators of well-being, how many times they're opening the fridge, to make sure that they're feeding, people are feeding themselves. There's a lot of these problems. And then I think overall our mission is, the way I think of it is like there's this shadow of society of like people are in these really stressful, life-critical scenarios for hours at a time. And we look at them and we're like, we don't really know what to do about it. There's buttons you can press, but people don't want to wear them and they don't press them. People are on the ground for literally hours. And I think if in the future we can just reduce that suffering of older adults, that's really our overall mission, so that we can take these disaster scenarios of people being on the ground for 6 hours at home and nobody being aware, and reducing that to a critical scenario, but where we felt like we did everything we could and we did it right, which is 15 minutes or even 5 minutes before they received help.
Right.
Yeah.
Or even negative time, because
Right.
you predicted that,
Right.
something's going on here, we need to intervene now. They're not going to the refrigerator as often as they should be. They're not toileting when they
Yep.
normally have been. Let's find out what's going on and get under the hood, so to speak, and see if there's something that we can prevent before it actually happens.
Right.
Yeah, it's fantastic stuff. So your information is on screen. So Mercury Alert information is on screen for those of you who are watching the video. If you're listening on your favorite podcast channel, you obviously can't see that, but it's in the caption. But their website is there. They have an email address, phone number as well. learn more about this product. It's an incredible product. It's growing. The technology is advancing, and I'm sure you guys are on the cutting edge of all that stuff, and it's just going to get better and better and better. So thank you for coming today and sharing all about Mercury Alert.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
My pleasure.